Sarah Tuberty, your host from Disarming Disability. Enjoy the following program on Public House Media.
Hey, you're listening to Let's Hustle with Lee and Chelsea. We are two girls making our way in sales and entrepreneurship.
We set out to make this podcast after entering our late 20s and realizing we were hitting a wall and felt like our lives and careers were stagnant. After expressing this feeling to countless other women, we realized we weren't alone.
So each week we're bringing you real conversations with real people that are authentic, realistic, and relatable in hopes that you can grow into the best version of yourself. So strap in and let's hustle. Everybody, it's Lee and Chelsea, and we have a really awesome guest today. Today we have on the podcast Lindsey Mango. She is a life coach and is amazing and has some knowledge to drop on all of us. So, welcome to the podcast, Lindsey.
Hi, how are you guys? I'm excited to be here.
Wonderful. Awesome. Thank you so much. So to start off, for people who don't know you, are not familiar with your coaching style or how you got started, tell us a little bit of your background and what made you want to go into coaching.
Yeah, so everyone always laughs when I tell them I actually have an accounting degree. They're like, what? My degree's in accounting, and I played college sports, so that was really what I was passionate about. And then I was like, it was like I closed my eyes and I picked a degree and I was like, that one. So after college, I just kind of felt lost and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. I got into a sales career, did really well in it, but wasn't really passionate about what I was selling. And so I switched jobs and I got into a marketing job and I really thought it was like what I was going to do. And then I realized it wasn't what I wanted to do. And so I switched jobs again. And that kind of went on for, 8 years after college. I always joke, I was like the typical millennial. I was a job hopper. If you looked at my resume, I had 8 different jobs, all in different areas, HR, accounting. You name it, I tried it. And over time, I just started to realize that none of the jobs that were out there really felt like what I was deeply passionate about. And I couldn't really imagine, just for me, I couldn't imagine spending my life at a job that I wasn't obsessed with, that I didn't love. And so that kind of inspired me to start looking elsewhere, at different opportunities. So I actually started in network marketing and I started reading personal development books, really got into that. And I randomly met a life coach at a networking event. And I was like, life coach? What the heck does she do? At the time I was recruiting, another job that I had. And I was like, I bet she meets a lot of people who don't know what they want to do with their lives. We're going to be great referral partners. This will be perfect. So I meet her for coffee and then I'm like, wait a minute, what do you do? And I just start pouring my heart and soul out, just telling her about how I felt like I had so much potential, but I didn't know how to actually translate it into my life. And I walked out of that coffee meeting and I decided to hire her. And that was kind of where everything started to happen. After 3 months, I learned so much and changed so much. That is when I knew, I was like, this is what I've been searching for. This is what I meant to do for women. And then I launched my business.
Who was your coach?
Her name is Stacy. Stacy Smith. She actually goes by Stacy Bayman now. She hasn't gotten married yet, but she's going to soon. Yeah.
Cute. That's awesome. So how long ago was this? How long have you been a life coach?
So I've been in my business full time for 3.5 years now.
So if this is not something you're comfortable talking about, please tell us because we can edit it. We can cut it out. But, I think the whole life coach business is incredible and it's so helpful to so many women. And I know there's people that are interested in doing things like what you're doing. And it's, how do you become successful? What kind of income are you hitting now? And you don't have to tell us exactly, but tell us the nitty gritty. Tell us all the good stuff.
I mean, I'm an open book, so since I've started, my business has brought in over $1 million. This year, my goal is to actually scale back a couple of things, really focusing on laying the foundation. So companies should hit $500,000 this year, and then next year the goal is $1 million. So, I mean, there is a lot of possibility. That's like money that I never even thought was possible. Like 6 figures used to seem, I mean, which it is. It's an amazing accomplishment too. But I always thought I would make 6 figures, and that was probably it, if that. So yeah, I mean, there's tons of opportunity. There's tons of possibility. I always tell people. I mean, I coach a lot of coaches, and I always tell people anyone can be a coach. And I think anyone can be a successful coach. It definitely takes work. It takes a high level of mindset. It takes just implementing this at such a high level. But I think it's possible for anyone, truly.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So just starting off, because I feel like coaching, you have to develop such a trust and a relationship with your clients. What was it like starting off and getting your first couple clients? Because I'm sure that was terrifying.
Oh my gosh, totally was. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy. I actually signed my first client the first day I opened my business because I was doing network marketing. I had been building a brand already and building a lot of trust. And I think people were waiting for the thing that they really wanted. So that helped that process. And I'll never forget my first call. I was freaking out. But I think the biggest thing was, oh shoot, I lost my train of thought. Did you say how did that feel? Build with my first clients?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So I was totally I was nervous, but the thing, I had to keep applying what I was teaching my clients, which is I would spend a lot of time looking at what do I have to offer these people? How much is going to change for them just in having a conversation every single week, and showing up and giving them the opportunity to just talk and think and make themselves a priority was huge. So I had to do my own work on the back end, which is why I had a coach, right, and handling all my mind drama about it, and then really showing up to be present with them, to just listen and know that I had everything that I needed to help them. So I don't know if that answers your question about trust, but I think I built a lot of trust on the front end from building a brand online, and then I had to work on building trust in myself and my ability to help them.
That's amazing.
How do you go about selling yourself? Because there's lots of coaches out there for lots of different things, and a life coach is incredible. How do you go and be hey, my name is Lindsey. I'm amazing. This is what I do, and this is what it's going to cost, and this is why. Tell us that, because that's really interesting to me. Is how do you put a price tag, and how knowing your value is so important, and how did you scale that to what? Because I can't imagine, and maybe, girl, maybe you did. I'm more power to you, but I bet your coaching fees are slightly higher than when you first started.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. So how did I get clear on the value?
Yeah.
Or how did you stand out? I think that may be more concisely.
It's kind of both of those things. How do you sell yourself, and how did you find what your value is on a money scale?
Yeah. So I think when it comes to selling ourselves, to other people, the biggest component is actually selling ourselves on ourselves, and our belief in our own work and our belief in the results that we can help people get, whatever you're selling. It doesn't matter. So I think that there was a couple of things. I think for me, a lot of times people, I call it put the cart before the horse, which is beautiful. Had I known about coaching earlier, I'm sure I would have been really inspired to do it. And like I said, I have a lot of people who I work with who want to be coaches. But they put the cart before the horse, and they're I want that life. I want freedom. I want to help other people. And they don't necessarily start with their own work. And so there's this gap between, they haven't really used the tools to change their own life. And so there's this gap in between, it's you have to believe in whatever you're selling. And so one of the biggest things for me was that I had hired a life coach myself, and I had changed my life so drastically that sold me on the power of these tools, which allowed me to sell so easily. I didn't even feel feel like I was selling to other people because I was just so genuinely mind blown by this work that I just would talk about it all the time. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is what's changed in my life. This is like the perspective that I have now. I never knew these tools existed, and like, look at all the results it's creating. So I think that was a huge component of it, was I was just so sold on how it affected me that it was just so easy for me to talk about outwardly. And then I think the other piece is really like consistently selling yourself on that component. So something like I work with my clients on, I work in my own life, is like, how is the value of what I'm offering 10 times what I'm charging? And really going to work to like look for evidence of that. Because my thought is like, if one person takes one tool that I teach them, like how is that gonna like change the entire course of their life, and what's the value of that? So then that kind of leads me to like deciding on the value, right, of like what you're actually going to charge. I look at it from that lens. I'm like, what's the value of that? What's the value of them literally creating a life that blows their mind to this person? I think about what's going to stretch my ideal client. Like the purpose of a coaching investment to me is to stretch them. It's going to challenge their brain. It's going to challenge them to make themselves a priority and put that kind of money on the line. And then I think the other thing is, you know, I always like to look at like over delivering and like what stretches them, but then also what's a price that I feel like is whatever I'm offering is over delivering at the highest like level where they want to keep going and they want to keep investing, that they feel like they won the lottery. So that was a lot of like the kind of inner work. And then for me, when I first started charging what I paid when I first started, because I think the other thing is that was really in integrity for me, because that stretched me and I was able to figure out a way to make that investment work. And so it created a space where I like understood what was going to happen in their mind when they went to make that investment. And so that also felt like on both sides it made sense.
Nice. How would you describe your coaching style? Because I feel like already talking to you, you are very, I think that the way that you eloquently word things is very, like, I literally am just like, oh my gosh, like I feel like already like so motivated just talking to you for like 10 minutes. How would you?
I know this woman is drop dead gorgeous, perfect skin, talks like so well. I'm just like, okay, how do I be you?
Yeah.
Send me the link.
That's what I tell people. That's exactly it.
You're like, we discovered the secret. We did it.
I was like, I've got to stop looking at this girl's Instagram. Yeah. Like, whatever.
You guys are awesome.
But how would you describe your coaching style to other people? And how have you made it work for you?
Yeah, so my coaching style is more about like helping someone self-discover. So there are lots of different types of coaches, but my style is I want to teach my clients how to be self-reliant, how to trust themselves, how to trust what they believe and like their desires, not tell them this is how you should do it, this is how you should handle it. So I'm very much like, my style is asking lots of questions and figuring out what's like at the root. So what's causing the problem? A lot of times as humans, like all of us, we experience the surface level problem, and there's always something deeper below it that's causing the problem. My goal as a coach with my clients is to always get to that level. I want to get to the cause and the root so that we can change that, so that it affects all of the results in their lives. And so there's that. And then I think one of the biggest things, and maybe that's what you're experiencing, is also like the possibility. I would say that's one of my greatest strengths as just like a human and as a coach, is that I just see so much possibility in every single thing, in every single client. And because I see it from that lens, it's people like feel like it's just as possible for them. And it helps me really like sell them on new opportunity, new possibilities for their own brain, to see things differently and to go and pursue what they want. So I would say that is kind of like a brief-ish description of my coaching style.
Yeah, I mean,
awesome.
Do you think that's changed from when you first started, or has that been the thing?
That's a great question. It's been pretty consistent. I would say that there was a point where I got a little sidetracked. So when I first started my coaching business in Louisville, like nobody was a coach. It was very uncommon. And I started so I was kind of in my own lane, right? I was just doing my own thing. There was nobody else doing it. I coached a lot of the coaches who ended up becoming like big time coaches in Louisville. But what happened was I actually created like more opportunity for my brain to be like, oh, am I like doing it the right way? There's all these other people doing it these different ways. So there was a time where I got a little like caught up in thinking like, oh, my way's not good enough. It's not all of these things. And it challenged it a bit. But the biggest thing is I've always come back to this because this is what's changed my life. This is what's gotten my clients amazing results. And so I've kind of went down my own journey, got a little like sidetracked it, but came right back to it later on.
Nice.
I love that.
What do you think is the number one, or maybe like a couple of top hurdles that you hear from clients?
That was like my next question. Like, sales pitch me. Like,
Yeah.
Lindsey, I would love to work with you, but you cost too much.
Well,
Yeah.
That's
And
not
then
what I
give
meant.
another one.
That's not what I meant.
Oh my gosh.
That's
I'll answer both. But wait, which one do you want me to start with?
whatever one you want.
Okay, I think the first question was, what are the top hurdles people like have to get over in themselves?
Yes.
And the
Yes.
second is
Wow.
the biggest objections people give me.
Yeah,
Okay.
there you go.
Got it. Okay, so let's talk about the first hurdle, like the biggest hurdles that people experience. A couple things that immediately come to my mind are our brain is literally wired to focus on the gap. And when I say that, I mean what could go wrong, what like isn't going right, how it's not going to work. It's literally a protective mechanism of our mind. And so I think that's a roadblock with any human. I joke that our brains are like untrained children and they will just like wreak havoc and do whatever they want to do if we don't actually like train them and show them how we want them to operate. So I would say that's a part of it, is helping people like learn how to focus on what's going to serve them, what's going to help them create the results that they want in their life, instead of having their brain automatically focus on everything that could go wrong and like that gap. I think some of the other things are, two other things come to mind. I believe that every human has a lot of work to do around believing that they're enough as they are. Everyone has their own drug of choice, I would say, when it comes to that. Like, I have to achieve to be enough. I have to be fit and healthy to be enough. I have to be smart to be enough, whatever it is. So I would say blocks around that are super common, because we're kind of constantly being told by society, by everyone around us, that who we are and what we're doing isn't enough. And then I think the last piece, let me think, I just lost my train of thought about that. Blocks, enough. I don't even remember. We'll just stick with those two.
Yeah,
Perfect.
those are big ones for sure. So
Yeah. I just thought of it. I think the other piece is we're very limited in how, like, we tend to be very limited in how big we think. So when we're kids, we dream really big. We think, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be all these things. But over time, our brains get trained to think about what's realistic, what's logical, and what makes sense. And what that does for a lot of people is it just puts a box on their life. And it's why no matter what decisions they make, they keep feeling like they're never getting where they want to go, because they're not making decisions from like, what's possible? Like, if anything was possible, what would I really want? What would I be doing? And making decisions from that vantage point. And so a lot of the things I have to do with clients is like retraining them to like think about the possibility, not about what's logical, what makes sense. And then for the objection, I think that was the other one, right? What are the biggest objections? I mean, I think like the investment is always one of the biggest objections that people get. But my perspective on it is that price is never actually the real objection. It's always something deeper than that. Whenever somebody goes to make an investment in anything, usually the thing that's holding them back is the very thing that comes up in the process of making that decision. So I always say, I'm like, it's never actually about money. It's about the thought process behind that. So when I look at that, like what's deeper is that they don't actually, the biggest thing is they don't believe they can get the result that they want. So I always like ask people, I'm like, if you were 1000% guaranteed to make this investment and you literally like got a package and you opened it up and your dream result popped out, is there anything that would keep you from making that investment? Absolutely not. Like even if that investment was $20,000, if you knew investing that $20,000 would mean a multi-million-dollar company, your dream body, your dream relationship, like anyone I believe could find a way and they'd be like, why wouldn't I do that? That's a no-brainer. But the reason why they don't is because they don't believe they are actually going to get the result. So I see it as part of my job, like in those types of conversations, to close that gap because that belief is what's keeping them from creating the results that they want. The other thing is them feeling like empowered. So them feeling like they actually have a choice, that they're capable of finding a way, right? Like usually our brain feels or like creates space where victim is such a strong word, but where we're not in control. We think like, oh, my husband won't be on board with that, or I don't make enough money at my job, or all these external circumstances are responsible for why I can't do this thing, which ends up giving all of our power away instead of really asking ourselves like, if this is how much my mortgage was or something really important to me, how would I find a way to make this work? How would I find that money? So it's also about helping them see like what's their commitment level, where are they prioritizing this investment, and where are they giving their power away.
Nice. Do you see a trend with the types of clients that you work with? Like, are they, business owners in like fitness or, life coaches? What's your specialty if you have one?
Yeah, mine is actually a little bit more broad, and it's funny, I just got off a coaching call with I'm a part of a mastermind, but I coach relatively like, it's kind of broad in that they're high achievers. They know they're meant for more. Like they've tried to get results, but they don't know how to get there. They don't know how to close that gap. So I call it like in anything but average life. Like they want their life to just blow their mind in every way possible. So that's like my focus. But a lot of them end up, this is going to be kind of the next phase of my business, they end up wanting to be coaches because the work changes their life so much that they're like, I have to put this work out into the world. So I work with a lot of high achievers who want to have an amazing life, but then they also want to have a business that's wildly successful, that supports their anything but average life.
So a lot of 3s on the Enneagram test that you work with.
Oh gosh, I don't even know my own, but probably, yeah.
I love it. What are some really fun, inspiring success stories that kind of keep you going with your clients?
Oh my gosh. So one that immediately comes to mind is someone that I knew since I was in kindergarten, and we didn't really keep in touch after college or anything like that. But I remember watching her, wanting to inspire people and do all of these amazing things. And I ended up getting into coaching, and we kind of just followed each other. And she wasn't she was still stuck at her job. She wasn't really creating the results that she wanted. And after probably 2 years, there were many times where she got on a consult with me or got on a call with me, and then she would disappear for 6 months and never join anything. But then she finally made that commitment, and within 6 months she had replaced her corporate salary with her coaching business. She had moved out of an apartment, and they wanted to renovate this van, her and her boyfriend. It literally changed her entire life. Now she's traveling the country, doing what she loves, has everything that she wants. And I just think about that a lot because if I hadn't kept asking, right? It took her 2 years. If I hadn't kept making offers, I might have stolen that opportunity for her to create these amazing results in her life. So she's one that comes immediately to mind. I'm trying to think, gosh, I feel like I've had so many different ones. A lot of that, some of the things that I think of are people who are stuck in corporate jobs. I've had so many clients who feel stuck, who feel like they don't know what they're meant to do with their life, figuring out they want to be a coach, launching their business, creating success, and now they're just living their life that they really want. But I have a lot of clients who like have just lost weight that they've been trying to get off for years and finally like love their body or, like find love. So I don't know. There's so many different ones, but those are the ones that come to mind.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So looking forward to the future, I know you kind of hinted at, scaling back some things, maybe like a phase 2. What's something that you really want to accomplish? And it doesn't have to be anything concrete. It could, be something abstract.
You mean like in the next, year or?
I hate putting a cap on time, so you can interpret that however you wish.
However I want. I love that. Okay, so I want to be serving, coaching thousands of women to be creating anything but average lives. I want to be supporting coaches who are, changing the world. And in my mind, that's really, at the heart of it. I'm at a point now where I really have everything that I ever dreamed of having. And so it's just, being able to help other women create this life over and over and over again. That's what totally lights me up, and continuing to do that for more and more women. But my husband and I also, I love business too. So we have plans of one day having a restaurant and doing a not-for-profit. Now, for these things, my main business will always be my coaching business. I will constrain a lot of my energy, but I want to be involved in creating new ideas and giving back in new and different ways.
That's amazing.
I love that. I have a question.
Yeah.
Sometimes, when you hear about maybe MLMs or realtors or coaches, it's the market is so saturated. So, say that this is what I'm saying, people you hear, right? It's the market is so saturated with coaches. So what do you do? Because I'm in sales. So how do you pitch that? Yeah, there's a lot of coaches, but this is what we can do to make you stand out. How, if you were to give a sales pitch to somebody who felt like they were just one in a million of coaches, how would you pitch to them that that's not something that they're going to have to worry about working with you?
My question would be, why do they think they're one in a million? My thought is there's no such thing as a saturated market when you see your unique value and you know that you have so much to bring to the table. And so my thought is that's what we would work on. I never think about that, and I teach my clients to never think about who cares if there's other coaches, because there are humans that you are meant to work with. There's nobody else that is meant to work with these people. You have a gift to bring to the world. So it would really be about, I'm not selling you on it now, but it would really be about, I would be really curious as to why they're worried about a saturated market in the first place, and why they don't think that they would bring something unique enough to the table that it wouldn't even matter that there are a million other coaches in the world.
I love that. I think sometimes when you're doing your own thing and building your own business, or you're even working for corporate America, overcoming objections is so hard, and you can get set into such a rut. And so I love hearing how people overcome a common thing and how different minds work. So that's awesome.
Thanks.
What do you think, you personally, we love asking this question, and because it always sparks different answers. For you personally,
such a good one.
Yeah, so good. I think it's twofold. I think my why first is for me and my growth and my who I am and how I grow is always being an example of what's possible. I always want to be pushing the limits on what I'm capable of and my own growth, because I think about not to get so deep on you, but I think about when I get to the end of my life, I compare it to athletics. I think a lot of things to athletics. I'm when I get to the end of my life, I want to look back and feel like I literally left every single ounce of everything I had to give. It makes me emotional, to even talk about. I want to know that I gave every ounce of everything I had, in the life that I got to live. And I think through doing that, the other piece of it is like being the example for other women to influence and help as many women as possible to do that in their own life. And I know by doing that, it will one day when I have kids, like it will also inspire them to do that too. And just like, I want the world, it sounds so cliche, but I really want to feel like when I leave the earth that I left it better than when I found it. I made an impact on it.
That's amazing.
I know. I'm like, oh.
Well, just from an outsider's perspective, I think you're doing an incredible job at that so far.
Crushing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
If you could go back and tell your younger self one thing, what would it be?
I would tell her that life really does get to be as incredible as she thinks it is, and that she really was meant for something so much bigger than she could ever imagine.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
I'm like, okay. Fight back the tears over here.
So kind of near the end of all of our interviews, we do this thing called yoga time, which is essentially, at the end of a yoga class, the teacher's like, for 2 minutes, hold whatever pose you feel like doing or one that we didn't do. So we want to give you some yoga time. If you want to talk about, a subject, something that inspires you that we didn't talk about, if you want to talk about a Netflix series that you're watching, you can, this is your time. So you have a couple minutes to do some yoga.
I love that part of the yoga class, by the way.
Right?
Like, this is my favorite. Actually, I like the part where I lay flat.
I know, I was like, child's pose. Thank you. Here.
And I'm like, can I just pay to lay on the ground for an hour? Like, I'm pretty sure that would be great. No, let me think for a second. Gosh, I feel like growing up, being an athlete, I feel like my parents did a really great job of treating me like I was like everyone else. Like, and I'm talking about when it comes to like women's rights and all of that. Like, I never felt like I experienced where it was like, oh, I can't do all the things that like men can do or any of that, because my parents really did teach me that I could do whatever I wanted to do. But something that I have been really aware of recently is just paying attention to how society and our environment, and like even my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and like I think that's amazing. Like I'm like sometimes I'm like, how do they do that? Like that would be really hard. But I've been really paying attention a lot to just like how even our upbringing can create stories in our minds about how like women can't be too bold, women can't be this way, we're supposed to act this way, we have to put everyone else above us in our lives, and all of these things. And so like that's something I've just been really into recently. I'm not like super into politics, but I just find it very fascinating because of the human mind and what I teach. And so I just think it's something that I personally want to continue to explore, but also I think that women are truly like the ones that are going to change the world. Like when I think about what women can do, it like blows my mind. It like literally gives me chills because, and my husband, I mean, I'm so grateful to be surrounded by such an amazing man and family too, because he's like, I don't know how women do it. Like they have babies, they crush it at work, they crush all the tasks, they take care of everything at home. They do, and he helps a ton too, but like, he's just like, it just amazes me. And I think if more women could see that for themselves, like, and more women would show up and put their hat in the ring and take leadership roles in the world, like, I just think that the world would be a different place. And I think that's so cool to think about.
That is the message. That's
right.
Amazing. I have one more quick question. Sorry. And yoga time usually is the end. But what sport did you play?
I played volleyball.
Oh, nice. Is that your favorite sport to watch? Are you a sports girl? Do you watch sports?
It's so funny. I mean, I played competitive sports my whole life, but I don't really watch a ton of sports. I think it's because I was playing. I mean, I love volleyball. I love playing it. I mean, I haven't played in years, but and you would never guess. Like I'm 5'4", but that's what I picked. But no, I enjoy watching sports. I appreciate athletes like a lot. Obviously, that's what I did. So
for sure, yeah. I love it. I'm super into sports, and I'm super into women's sports. So I was like, yes, queen. I think female athletes have such a powerful mind and just have like a different, I mean, I think that the way they think and the way their minds work as they get older and get into careers that are not sports, I think it's so impressive, and I think they're amazing. So I just want to ask that little question.
Well, thank you.
Of course.
I love it. So good.
Well, Lindsey, thank you so freaking much for joining us today. This has been like an absolutely wonderful conversation, and I know people are going to get a lot out of the things that you had to say, and so we appreciate your time.
Yes.
Can you tell everyone where to find you on the internet?
Yeah, I mean, Instagram is like my jam, so connect with me on there. My handle is @Lindsey with an E, mango _. And then people can check out my program, lindseymangocoaching.com/anything but average. And I also have a podcast called Anything But Average.
Amazing.
That's awesome. Yay. Well, thank you again so much. Everyone go visit her Instagram. It is beautiful. Her posts are inspiring. I could tell you. I've been following her for a while. Just little plug there. But of course. But yeah, thank you so much again for joining us. We will be back next week with another episode of Let's Hustle. Make sure to follow us on Instagram @Let's Hustle Podcast. Give us a rating, give us a review. Thank you all for listening today, and we hope you have a wonderful week.
Bye.